coffee.
Yes, exactly.
We went large today, so
Yeah, there you go. That's why.
yeah.
Thanks everyone for joining a little bit early. Matt is here, which is good. We were scared because I'm not gonna lie. I came to this session to learn as well. I'm about to set up my own first AOSP profile. So I'm going to be paying extra attention. I do see a read AI meeting notes. I'm going to deny that from the lobby. Good luck. Um, it's going to be a fun session. We'll give it like 2 minutes for people to join. Like we said earlier, we are at maximum capacity. So we have a limit of 1,000 people being to sign up. And we had 1,000. So everyone's it's a full session. At some point, we do have to start a new registration cycle because we'll see today as well that we currently have 130 people in. I don't think we'll hit 1,000, and we just want to make sure that everyone gets the opportunity to join these without Jimmy sharing the presenter link with some people. Right? That can always happen, right, Jimmy?
That can happen. Yes.
Yeah,
It's one of those things when we reach 1,000 people and we need more to getting in. By the way, thank you everybody for the support. We do have a lot of people joining. We do have a lot of people that have asked for access to these meetings as well. And thank you everybody for giving us an hour at a time. Matt, if you actually want to take control, this is your deck, or if you want to share, whichever one's easier for you.
I will steal control from you, Jimmy.
Yeah, you can take it.
Before we start, Jimmy, all of these are posted on the learning path. If you are not a Microsoft partner, which means you probably don't have access to the learning path, we'll make sure we'll put it on the Teams Rooms Tech Talk YouTube channel as well for you to watch it later. We're trying to find a compliant way to share the slides too. There's some stuff that we didn't get approval for yet, so we kind of hesitant in uploading those, but we're trying to find a way. Might be LinkedIn Smart Links, might be just some kind of download under a YouTube or in a channel or something. We're trying to figure that out. But again, thanks everyone for joining a topic that I don't have a lot of knowledge about. So I'm happy that the real experts are here with Jimmy and Matt. Let's give it one more minute. We're at 200 attendees. We have 1,000 people that signed up. So let's give it a minute and then we'll start. Hey, we have people from Chicago.
Hey, me too.
Oh, hello from Amsterdam. Hey, Jan, I just saw you this morning. Good to have you here. I see a couple of our friends. This is great.
I think this is
Jean,
awesome.
good to see you. Haven't spoken to you in a minute. Björn, good to see you. Patrick. Yeah, oh. Hey from the UK. UK folks, no longer Europe. Alexander, good. A lot of Dutch folks. After Ignite, we'll do the session in Dutch. After the Ignite announcement, you'll understand why and how.
Not sure I'll be able to help with the Dutch one.
Hola.
Yeah, which is what Jimmy says everywhere he goes.
That I might not be so helpful with. I'm happy to attend, and I will make use of the translation capabilities we have in Teams to watch and enjoy, but that's about all I'm going to be able to help with there.
we got something special coming in Teams and AI where, well, you'll see after Ignite. It's going to be...
Oh, have we not announced that yet? Never mind.
I don't think so. And I don't think so.
All right. We played with it the other day.
I enjoyed it. Let's not talk about it. Yeah.
Yep.
Can you post the links for YouTube and Microsoft Learning in the chat? Yes, we can. I'll do that now. Let's get this thing on the road. Thanks everyone for joining this month's session. The Teams Rooms Learning Hour is a recurring monthly session. If you signed up for one, you'll get automatic updates for each and every one of them. We are at maximum capacity, so it's difficult to get new people on this list. So at some point, we might restart the registration, but we'll let you know on the call when we do so. We do have one already scheduled for November. The December one we're going to skip because we'll have something else special, which I think you're all going to enjoy, but I don't think we have announced that either yet. But that's going to be good. I love, by the way, how Matt is doing the expression before he hits the button. That's new. I saw you do that yesterday as well. But that is great.
Well, before we get to this month's session, let's talk about what actually we're going to introduce for next month. Next month, we're going to have actually a new topic. It will be what meeting type is correct for my shared space. Now, this will explore all of the different meeting types that we have here at Microsoft. We want to make sure that people understand the journey to a Microsoft Teams room through CVI, through what's new, VINT, which is Video Interop in Microsoft Teams. We want to make sure that everybody understands the best solution for Microsoft Teams customers in their shared spaces is Microsoft Teams rooms. I know that a lot of people have been looking at CVI, looking at all of these different ways to join Teams meetings. But again, the best way to experience a Microsoft Teams meeting in a shared space is a Microsoft Teams room. And we're going to actually explore all the different ways. And Matt will go through, we're going to create the documents. We're going to actually propose, this is the way that you do things. This is how this meeting works. This is what happens here, and so on and so forth. Matt, that's going to be quite a large undertaking for us, but but we're going to
you talk about these things and you're like, hey, we're going to talk about this and this and this as if we've written all the content already.
Right? Yes. It's all in our head. It's all in our head, and we're going to do it. So yeah,
it's going to be great. We will make sure that we've got some really good content for that session. And I think it'll help land that message of like, hey, I've got these meeting spaces. What do you want as that experience in those rooms? And how do you want that experience to be perceived by your end users? So that session should walk through and make sure that we kind of level set expectations across all the different capabilities we've got to join meetings. And then what do you actually want to drive in that space? And help point folks in the right direction and ensure that there's some clarity on what does and what doesn't work in different scenarios.
Yeah, we want to make sure that when customers are investing in Copilot, for instance, they're going to get the most out of their investment and things like that. So we'll bring all that stuff up. Great to have that as a topic next month.
Yes. Okay. But this month we're talking about AOSP. Is this MDEP? Is it?
It's not MDEP.
Is this Android? Is this Google? I'm very confused, Matt. Please walk us through this.
I even have a question that says that in the deck. Is this MDEP? So don't worry. I was prepared for that question. So thanks, Michelle. Thanks, Jimmy. We're here today to chat about AOSP device management. Likely, folks have seen this. We've got some message center posts about it. It's going through various previews right now. So depending on if you're in any of our preview programs, you may have seen some of this already in one factor or another. But what is AOSP device management? And AOSP device management is kind of a overarching terminology for the MDM enrollment for Teams Android devices, but starting off with what is this AOSP thing? So AOSP is the Android open source platform. That is the open source project and platform that all Android devices across the globe run on. And so that's your Android 10, 12, 13, 14, so on. Those releases are AOSP. Teams devices use the AOSP platform to run on. So your Polys of the world, your Neats of the world, your Logis of the world take AOSP, modify it for their devices, and then put the Teams Rooms application and several other applications on those devices in order to build your Teams Android devices. Now, today, we leverage Android Device Administrator to do the Intune enrollment for these AOSP devices. Android Device Administrator is how you do mobile device management for things that don't have Google services on them. So you'll notice that, hey, why aren't you guys using Android Enterprise? Well, we don't have Google services on the devices because your mobile device, like this, has Google services on it. So you can use Android Enterprise, which is the MDM enrollment that Google wrote. When Google wrote their Android Enterprise, they then stopped really focusing on Device Administrator at all, which was what we were using to manage all of the devices. The Android open source project stopped focusing on Device Administrator because Android Enterprise was a thing. And then that left all of these Teams devices and several other series of devices that don't have Google services on them in this state of, well, we're using Device Administrator and it works, but they're not really adding any new features to it. Where are things going? What's coming next? So in turn, we've now created with the Intune team AOSP device management to manage these devices that don't have Google services on them. This will be a new MDM enrollment capability. It's already released in all of the Intune management portals. There's no license changes from an Intune perspective, so nothing's changing there. You don't need a new license. You don't need to do anything unique with all of that. And this adds platform for further innovation. And then, Michelle, for your question, this is not MDEP. So this is not Microsoft owning the operating system. This is your Neat, your Poly, your Logi, your Cisco, whomever from an Android device perspective, still owning the operating system stack. This is just us changing that management layer that we're already doing today to a new platform.
But that is important to point out, Matt. MDEP is something where Microsoft is working on. It's much bigger than just room systems. It is a larger push from Microsoft itself, but MDEP is still a thing. This is just not what we're talking about here.
Exactly. Yeah. MDEP is not going anywhere. MDEP will use AOSP device management also. One of the reasons that you're seeing this big push from us on the AOSP device management side is because MDEP needs it in order to land MDEP. So there is a series of bits here that you're going to see progress over the next year. This is one of those things. So MDEP is the overarching OS where Microsoft takes AOSP and modifies it and then makes it available on Teams devices. Compared to today, it's the Android OEM of choice making it available on their devices, and then just our management layer on top.
Okay, so Matt, tell me, why?
Why this AOSP device management thing? Now, I feel like, Michelle, you're kind of jumping and seeing the slides and leading me into this, which I do appreciate.
No, not at all. No, it's the first time I'm seeing this.
So, why AOSP device management? And I kind of alluded to this a little bit earlier, but largely Android Device Administrator has been deprecated. So there's no longer really support for Android Device Administrator, which is the MDM enrollment methodology we use today. It still works. We can still manage devices. We can still remote wipe devices. Things still do what we need them to do, but there's no new features. So the ability to, let's say, deliver certificates to a device are very limited on what you can do in Android Device Administrator, just kind of pulling an example out of my head. So we needed a new way forward, and we've lost some capabilities over time. Things like corporate device identifiers and using serial number don't work so well on newer builds of Android. They work fine on older builds, but not so well on newer builds. So we were left in the space of we need a new platform for innovation. We need a new platform to move forward. There was also a need for non-Teams devices for this same stack. So the Intune team was already working on this. So it was a great opportunity for us to tie Teams devices into this journey, build something that isn't unique to Teams devices, but has some additional capabilities for Teams devices moving forward. So with that, future innovation, new compliance capabilities, new controls. It's also going to be more stable. We're revising the auth stack at the same time. So the Teams Android devices leverage the company portal app, which does the device administrator enrollment today. That is the auth stack. So we're going to redo some of that with the new path forward. So we'll add some more stability from an auth perspective into there as well. And then last piece to this story is everybody always asks, why not Android Device Administrator? That's what I use for my Samsung mobile phones, my HTC mobile phones, whatever it might be. Why can't you guys just use Android Enterprise? Answer is you need Google services in order to use Android Enterprise. We don't have any intent to install Google services on all of the Teams Android devices because you don't need a Play Store and you don't need all of the things that come along with that. So it's just extra overhead on top of all the Teams devices that wouldn't add anything beneficial that we don't already have from a management perspective in other places. So it doesn't make sense to install on Teams Android devices that are more appliance-based rather than an end user doing something.
Makes sense. Makes sense. If I haven't looked at the slides yet, I would have asked you to get a little bit more nerdy and talk about some of the architectural changes that come with all of this.
So if we want to start and take a look at what are the architecture changes that we're actually making, and thank you, Michelle, for the lovely segue here. Let's start by taking a look at what is the current sign-in and registration flow for a Teams Android device. Now, this lovely slide has some animations in it. I have to remember which ones and how much I have to click next on it. But Starting off with all of your Teams Android devices. And now this is Teams phones, Teams panels, Teams displays, and Teams rooms on Android. Today have a company portal app and a Teams rooms, phone, panels, whatever it might be, app running on them. The company portal app starts by doing an authentication to Entra ID. So that's the username and password, your device code flow, however you're doing your authentication there into Entra ID. It also then attempts to do a workplace join, which is the Intune enrollment piece, which you've probably seen if you've tried to sign a Teams device into a tenant that has Android Device Administrator turned off, a unable to connect to workplace join error or some funky error like that. That's what's happening there is it's trying to go out and it's denied for one reason or another. And then you get an enrollment request and an enrollment response from Intune to do the enrollment pieces. Then all of that is passed on to the Teams app and gone, hey, we had a successful authentication and a successful sign-in. And then what you see from the MSAL library side is our actual authentication into Teams and into the rest of M365 to have a functional device. That is, from a techie perspective, how authentication works on Teams Android devices today in current state. And then I'll share what's changing, but I'll pause in case there's questions or comments or things like that along the way here.
There is one question, and it's how is limiting GMS managed by Microsoft if the OEM owns the OS? Is it a requirement of being certified for Teams?
So it is part of the requirements that there not be additional applications installed on the device, like Google services, for instance. So yes.
Okay, and then there's a couple of questions on MDEP. We'll get to MDEP probably top of next year. Maybe a little bit earlier. We'll do a learning hour where we'll talk nothing but MDEP, and you can ask all your MDEP questions. For now, we're going to be focusing on AOSP. So you've explained current state. What's about to happen now?
All right. So what changes as we go forward? In this slide, I need to fix the animations on this slide. There we go. So what's changing? So now we're changing how that sign-in and that auth pattern works, because now we're adding, you're going to see two additional apps here. So you're going to see the company portal app has disappeared. There is no longer a company portal app for your Teams Android devices. What's going to happen instead is we're leveraging the Microsoft Authenticator app. Same Authenticator app you run on an Android phone, you run on your iPhone. Same Authenticator app, just installed on Teams Android devices to handle that same authentication and that same Entra ID registration and workplace join process. So same flow, same URLs, same pattern, just a different application handling it today that is standardized across the rest of our estate. So we're snapping to what the rest of our devices do across the globe. Then the one new thing that you're going to notice is that the enrollment now is being handled by the AOSP app rather than by the company portal app. So this is a new app. This is, again, what was written by our Intune friends in order to support the enrollment process here in order to enroll in AOSP device management. And then you'll see the same process here for the DM agent and the DM app, which is really the device management app, to do the Teams Admin Center bits. That doesn't change. That was the same as on the other slide, and I should really copy that over. But at the end of the day, two new applications, same process, same conversation, same flows, and zero change to the end user experience. So the Authenticator app sign-in page looks exactly like the company portal app sign-in page. So nothing's changed there. Users won't be any the wiser, but this is the behind the scenes changes that happen with this move to AOSP device management.
Someone's asking if we have Intune disabled in the Teams Rooms license. I assume this will skip parts of this flow. Is that true?
Correct. Yes. So the 04 that you see there and 06, so the Entra ID workplace join registration and the Intune enrollment will not happen if you have the Intune license disabled on your devices that are signing into Teams.
Okay. Gotcha. I think you want to talk about firmware next. Is it going to be? No, go ahead.
Well, I have one question. So we send it to all of our partners and things. We send the device deployment playbook. Does this change what's in the device deployment playbook right now?
It does slightly, just because of the enrollment bits that you need to turn on and the profile creation that we need to do. So yes, I do have some updates to the device deployment playbook to have happen once we GA this functionality. Today, it doesn't change anything, but once we've GA'd AOSP device management, then yes, there's some slight tweaks. End of the day, the actual end result of going and doing things doesn't change on the device itself, but the IT admin steps you have to do with the enrollment profile are slightly different. And we will get to that in the what does it take to actually do this migration.
Yeah, so that's important to understand from a partner level. If you have taken those slides and use those to hand to your customers, make sure that as we're going through this, you update your documentation as well.
Yep. There were a couple of there's a question where a lot of people want to know the answer is, does the introduction of the Authenticator app, starting to get tired, also make it possible to somehow use MFA for the sign-in process, or will it stay not supported for Teams Rooms accounts?
So for Teams Android devices all up, the multi-factor authentication flow and modern auth flow is supported today on Teams Android devices. It does work with some caveats. If it's a user sign-in device, so say it's a Teams phone on a user's desk, you can do that today. It'll prompt for MFA. You can even prompt for a third-party IDP if you want and prompt for MFA. It works totally fine, totally supported, totally functional. Where we don't support it from a Microsoft perspective is user interactive MFA for shared devices. So your Teams Room device that's signing in with a conference room at Microsoft.com set of credentials should not have user interactive MFA, because that room doesn't have an iPhone to click the approve button on. You need to use a different secondary factor. Maybe it's trusted device, maybe it's known managed corporate device, maybe it's known egress IP. You need something else as the secondary multi-factor authentication factor for those, because you can't, it doesn't have an iPhone to click the button on, and you can't give it to your facilities manager and tell your facilities manager to click approve 1,000 times every morning, because that's not a good security posture. So it is supported today. It just doesn't make sense in shared device scenarios. There are other ways to achieve MFA that aren't clicking the approve button, and we suggest customers use those instead, but it does function today.
Okay, last one. Well, we'll have two more and then we'll continue. One is if a business does not use password never expired for Teams Rooms, will there be any change to updating the password?
Nope, same flow there. So the device will sign out when you expire the password, and you'll need to sign it back in again. Again, in that shared space conversation, we don't recommend expiring passwords because of that impact.
And if our organization blocks personal device enrollment, will it still be required in AOSP to register the corporate identifier?
It will not. So the good news is, as you create your enrollment profile, and I'll get to that in a second here, as you create your enrollment profile for AOSP device management, all devices that use that enrollment profile join as corporate devices, because we run with the assumption that no one has a Teams phone at their house that isn't a corporate device, at which point it will authenticate and sign in as a corp device.
You gotcha. Good stuff. There's one, but I think you're going to get to that later, so we'll skip that one. For now, I think we're going to talk.
We can address it though. The 90-day token, Matt.
Oh, you want to do it now? Oh, okay.
I think he's got good news on that side.
So the 90-day token is now 65 years. So it expires, the default expiry when you go to create the profile as of Monday morning, I think, is 2089 or something like that. So ideally, none of us are talking about Teams devices in 2089. I mean, I do enjoy my job, but I hope to be on a beach somewhere by then. So hopefully we're all doing something a little bit different in 65 years.
Right. Yeah. First piece of feedback here: 65 years is not long enough.
Right. At that point, you can extend it come a couple of years from now, and you'll get another 65 years out of it. Set a calendar reminder for yourself for 64 and a half years from now, and you can go edit that.
Excellent. Let's talk. I think we're going to talk firmware now.
We can talk firmware, or we can hop into the migration stuff, since that seems to be the focus for the moment.
Okay.
So let's chat migration. So what does a migration actually look like for moving from the legacy device administrator configuration to the new AOSP device management enrollment capabilities? So we've tried to make this as seamless as possible. So there are 2 steps that need to happen in order for someone to be successful. And I've got this in a flow diagram and I've got this in some words here. But the reality is this is as easy as we've been able to make this, because originally when this project started, the conversation was, hey, we're going to have this new MDM enrollment. Everyone needs to factory reset all of their devices. And then there was a bit of freak out of, oh my God, what do you mean we have to reset millions of Teams devices? And we've made that better. So you no longer have to factory reset. We've made this much, much easier and much better. There are 2 steps. One, you as an IT admin or the IT admin for your organization that has Intune permissions needs to create a new AOSP device management enrollment profile. It's very easy. You go through, you create the steps. I'll show it in a little bit. And then step 2 is a series of new firmwares will be released for all of the Teams devices through Teams Admin Center. This new firmware will be made available. Your device will show an update available, and you'll be able to install that update on your devices. What that's going to do is it's actually going to do the migration for you. So it's going to install that update on your device. It's going to unenroll from Intune with Device Administrator, and it will re-enroll with AOSP Device Management, staying signed in the entire time and staying available and able to be used. You've got about a 5-minute to 10-minute downtime when that migration happens, while the device goes through its firmware update, unenrolls and re-enrolls. You'll see the device repopulate in Intune again, and it will still be in Teams Admin Center with no changes from an end user experience perspective, and the device will remain signed in. This is as seamless as we've been able to make it. There is still work that has to be done. You've got to create that enrollment profile, but it is very simple to do. And then you've got options to create new compliance policies and new configuration policies if you use those today with Device Administrator, but they're not required for functionality.
So what if there's no policy there and the update is available? What will happen?
So if the update's available and there's no policy there, nothing bad happens. So if you haven't created your enrollment profile yet and we start releasing the firmware pieces, then you're fine. If you try to install the new firmware on a device and you haven't created your enrollment profile yet, that device will sign out and when it attempts to do its migration. And no, to answer the question in the chat, you cannot skip this. This isn't an optional conversation. I'll just keep it really simple. You will be moving or your devices will eventually no longer be supported. This isn't an optional thing, unfortunately.
And that's not, so do I understand correctly? Maybe I'm super wrong in that it's not something that we decide we're going to stop supporting. It's something that's happening with Google, which is kind of forcing us to go this route. I don't know.
There's a little bit. So some of it is we're no longer supporting Device Administrator either. So Google has stopped supporting it. The Android open source project has stopped innovating on it, and we are stopping support for it as well from an Intune perspective. So there's a series of decisions that have been made. This is our platform for further innovation. Any new firmware coming from OEMs in 2025 will be AOSP. So any new features, any new capabilities will be AOSP device management focused. And we have a evergreen policy for Teams and for Teams devices where you need to be on N or N-1 of release builds. So if you choose to delay or skip, you'll not be supported from a Microsoft perspective after, call it 6 months or less.
And I think that answers one of the questions inside of the chat was, will you block the ability to go back to company portal from AOSP? And the answer is yes. At some point, you will not be able to be using company portal. You will see device challenges if you are not using AOSP as your migration platform. There's message center posts talking about Android upgrades and everything that needs to be done. So this is one of the reasons why we're here in Learning Hours, to make sure that our partners, our customers, everybody understands this is a path forward and not a, hey, we want to go backwards and keep this and everything else. This is where Microsoft is going, and we all need to get into AOSP.
Yes, and there's really no reason to go back to the company portal builds. These aren't there's really no reason to go backward here. You're not losing any functionality, you're only gaining capabilities in the future and gaining stability. This is a future forward looking decision, not a short-term mitigation or anything like that.
And the question about mass migration is right in the chat. Yes, mass migration is happening. This is not a per device thing. But what we do want to do is make sure that you have your Android devices at least on a current firmware.
Yes.
That means today's or N-1 yesterday's firmware. If you don't, that mass migration may be challenging for you, and we want to make sure that you're there so that when we do get all these changes from our OEM partners, get everything into the migration path, that you're not stuck with, oh, I got to go back and update this one.
Exactly.
Matt, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Yeah, and I was going to say, so originally and at the beginning, we are going to release the updates and all of the firmwares in Teams Admin Center as a manual update. So all of your devices will show manual updates available. We will not be forcing automatic updates right away. Reason being, we want to give time for all organizations to create their enrollment profile, install the manual update on a couple of devices, make sure that you've got your enrollment profile created correctly, make sure everything's done right. Then you as an organization can choose to manually deploy it across your entire estate and do the migration at your pace. Or in 2025, we will be turning on automatic updates. So automatic updates and to deploy those firmwares will happen and deploy automatically. So if you test on 10 devices, go, hey, I'm comfortable with this, I'm just going to wait for Microsoft to auto update me. You can do that, and we will do automatic updates from there. So if you've got 10,000, 20,000 Teams devices deployed across your organization and you don't want to manually select them and manually update them, that's totally okay. Test, validate, make sure you're comfortable that your enrollment profile is created correctly, and then let us do our automated updates in 2025 for the rest of your estate.
Matt, I know you're about to show how to set up the enrollment profile. Can people start doing that now with the 65 years? Is this the moment to kind of follow what you're doing and then get a head start?
Exactly. Yes. So now that we've gone through and made all of the updates available and made the changes available to the configuration and enrollment profiles, you can go through as a user and create, or as an Intune admin, excuse me, and create your new AOSP enrollment profile. You go through, it's very easy. You go to devices in Intune, you go to enrollment, you go to Android, you scroll down to the Android open source project user associated devices one, click that, click a new one, and then go through and set it to on, give it a title, and then go through and check the Teams devices box that you see there. The default expiry date will be 65 years into the future. You can leave that alone. You can shorten it if you want. Keep in mind, shortening it means that if your devices are enrolled, they're fine. If that enrollment profile expires, you cannot enroll any new devices until you create a new enrollment profile. So the reason we have it set to 65 years into the future is to avoid any sort of conversations or challenges where your Intune admin has changed it and suddenly it expires and you try to enroll a new device and it doesn't work. This is to avoid those conflicts in the future. And then you click next and you click save and you're done. If all you do from all of this is create your enrollment profile, you're done. You'll still be successful. You'll still have everything that you need to do in order to get yourself into a good state and be off to the races.
Gotcha. Okay, so that sounds easy.
It really is. We have made this as easy as possible for everybody, and there's a very clearly marked Teams devices toggle that's there. So we partnered with the Intune team to make it very clear that I'm creating this enrollment profile for my Teams devices. Only Teams Android devices can enroll with this profile, so you can't end up accidentally enrolling your mobile phone in it or anything like that. This is very specifically limited just to Teams Android devices and helps from a security posture perspective and helps ensure that these are the only things enrolling this way.
Gotcha. A couple of people getting nervous in the chat. They want to be sure. What happens if you use the after 30 or 60 days auto update delay in TAC? Will the update be pushed automatically, or do you need to select the checkbox manually for AOSP? I know you mentioned a warning notification and link to MS Learn Docs.
So when the updates are released manually first, we will be skipping the automatic update phases. So the updates will be released manually later this calendar year. Our target is probably early November, but don't hold me to it. We're still going through testing. Once we're comfortable and confident, you'll start seeing the updates be made available. The blog post that we'll get to at the end here will be updated with the latest info and the latest dates on what's happening, along with phases for all the GA dates for each of them as we start making the updates available in GA for the different teams' Android devices. That way you know what's happening. There will also be message center posts notifying you because that's our formalized process. We're trying to keep the blog up to date too, just because it's easy to get publicly and take screenshots of and share on social media, more so than like the message center posts that you have to be an IT admin to access. So that will all be updated and current, but we will not be allowing those to auto update. So no matter what your ring phase is in Teams Admin Center, they won't auto update. In 2025, again, we'll update the blog post, we'll update the message center post to make sure everyone's aware, but those will flip to automatic update and we will then follow your auto update phasing rings. So it'll either be in validation and we'll update it at day 0 to day 15-ish, I think is the validation date. Then general and then final from there, following the automatic update rings you've got defined in your organization.
Okay, great. Let's talk about conditional access policies.
So with conditional access, so similar.
No, Jimmy wanted to say
yeah,
something.
let's address the Cisco comment that's actually inside of the chat as well. They're wondering, they actually manage their Cisco devices through Control Hub. And there was a push from Microsoft to the systems and everything like that. Again, when we talk about Microsoft devices, even if you are a Cisco device running Microsoft Teams Room, we want you to take things from Microsoft Teams Admin Center. And the reason why we say that is because we know that many of our OEMs do have newer firmware. They will give you and your customers solutions to what they see as the problem. Please realize that may not be in line with what Microsoft has. When Matt started the conversation about AOSP, you saw how Company Portal, the Microsoft Teams app, there are different apps that are available at different times. We test as a whole here at Microsoft, and we push these out as a whole. So even though you have Cisco devices, we want to make sure that you are using Microsoft Teams Admin Center as your portal for the updates. Again, that is nothing. If an OEM tells you that you can take this and it will address your issue, there's nothing that says you can't. But just please realize it may not have been fully tested by Microsoft at that point.
One more. When will we're gonna go way over time. When will we be able to select which firmware version we want to push to our Android devices? We are using rings in Teams Admin Center with the delays. Sometimes we want to skip a version because of a bug. We don't have bugs ever. But Teams Admin Center doesn't allow us to select the version.
Roadmap item, no comment.
Good stuff. And one more AOSP. We should assign the AOSP enrollment profile to an entire new fleet now without concerns of any automatic migration until 2025. What would be the manual? Hold on. I got another question. What would be the manual action to be taken to execute the migration? Is it ticking the box and that's when it starts, or what's it going to look like?
So no reason not to create your enrollment profile now. The manual updates will be manual updates in Teams Admin Center, just like you update a device today. So no, nothing unique there. You just deploy the updates to the devices through Teams Admin Center.
Okay, good stuff. Conditional access.
All right, so conditional access. So tied into your enrollment profile, if you leverage conditional access to do things like block devices that are non-compliant, that's a valid use case for conditional access and a valid scenario. In order for your devices, for your new devices to be marked compliant when they do this migration, you need to create an AOSP device management compliance policy. It's the exact same way you have an Android device administrator compliance policy, a Windows laptop device compliance policy, an Android mobile phone device compliance policy. That's just another device compliance policy that you need to create in Intune if you're leveraging device compliance as part of your conditional access policies. Really easy to do. Go through, create your new compliance policy. You can leverage the device health, the device properties, and the system security policies the same way you can for an Android device administrator piece in order to be able to go through and mark that device compliant. Very simple, very straightforward to do. But That's just the one other piece that I like calling out for folks is if you're leveraging device compliance, make sure you've updated your compliance policies in order to do that. Before we roll through any more questions, I'm just going to hit on the last couple things, and then we can just do Q&A until we're done with the Q&A, if that works for you guys.
Yep, good stuff. Yep.
So what devices are moving? Because this is a huge question because, hey, Microsoft Teams has been around for a while now, and some devices are actually end of life that were, in most cases, they were Link phones and Skype phones before that got moved to Teams that are a little old now, and they are end of life. So they will not be moving. But to start off, any devices that are currently certified will move. So any Teams Rooms devices, any phones, panels, displays, if they are currently certified, they will be moving to AOSP device management. There's no extra changes there. There's nothing unique, nothing you got to do beyond what we've already talked about. Create your enrollment profile, update your firmware, you're good to go. But hey, what if I'm an IT admin who's been around for a while and got some devices that are not supported anymore, but they're still running in my estate? What happens? There's a small subset of devices, and I have the full list on the next slide. So I have every single device that won't be moving called out on the next slide. These will continue to work on Device Administrator while Device Administrator is supported. Device Administrator is end of support December 31st, 2024, formally. So end of support is a very impending thing. They may still work. You may still be able to continue to use it, but they are formally end of support. They won't be moving to AOSP device management. You can continue to use them until they stop working, but don't open a support case with us. Don't complain that they don't work anymore. They are end of support devices. There's not so much we can do there from a service deprecation perspective because they're not supported devices. But if you want them to keep working, you can turn off the Intune entitlement on the license being used to sign into those, and they will continue to sign into Teams for the next little while until there's the next deprecation that breaks them in some fashion. So you are at risk there. This is the full set of devices. So everything you see here, if you've got these devices in your environment, make sure you're aware. But I've crawled through and found stuff that's been end of support for 3 years and made sure it's on here. So if it's ever run Teams before, it's on this list. Even if you haven't seen some of these products, and even if some of these products had very few actual deployments in the market, some of these have like 100 devices deployed total. So I'll leave that alone. But hey, they're here. And last piece to all of this, there are 2 public documents that are important, and this is PowerPoint Live, so you can click them, read them, view them, go forth and conquer. There is a lovely blog post where I wrote it somewhat sarcastically, but there's lots of lovely Q&A questions at the end of it to answer and address most of the questions that you might have. If there's not stuff there, feel free to ask in the comments. We'll address them as they come along, and make sure that that doc is updated. But we've been keeping that blog post up to date time and time again, just to make sure that stuff is there. And then on top of that, there is a Learn article that has the full steps that you need to follow in order to have a successful migration. So both of these are here, ready to go, and made available for you to reference. And now we can Q&A this as much as you'd like, Michelle and Jimmy. And Jimmy's laughing there, so I'm sure I said something I wasn't supposed to, but
yeah. You're back on mute again, Jimmy. I'm not sure what's happening with your mute button today. Oh, he's talking to someone
he's on
else.
The phone. Oh,
yeah,
he's not even talking to us.
Look at him. We can all talk about Jimmy now, and you'll see it on the recording. Yeah, thanks, Jimmy, for paying attention. So we're almost at time. First, before we go into the Q&A, stick around for as long as you want to. We'll be around for another 15, 20 minutes or so. If you joined today's session, thank you. Matt, thank you. I've learned a lot. I'm about to jump into my environment and create this and start setting this up because I need to get started. If you've joined today and you've signed up for this session, you will automatically get an update for the November session. During the November session, we'll discuss all the different ways that you can join a Teams meeting, and we'll point out some of the advantages and disadvantages of all these different technologies, which has been a big ask from the community. So we're going to do that in December. We will not do a learning hour session. We will have something special because we're going to do, I think I can say it now, we'll do a full-on sales bootcamp during that first week of December. So that's going to be a lot of fun. That's going to be followed by a new sales batch. We'll have more on that and how to sign up for the sales bootcamp once we get closer to that date. If you don't want to be part of these sessions anymore, you're just tired of Jimmy not paying attention and being on the phone doing other stuff, or you're tired of me asking stupid questions while Matt is the real expert, you can always cancel your registration, because that opens up a spot for somebody else, because we are at max capacity. Is there a recording of the technical bootcamp? Yes, there is. Thanks for joining again, Jimmy. Somebody said, thanks, guys, apart from Jimmy. That sucks, because Jimmy's a great guy. Is there a recording of the technical bootcamp? Yes, there is. If you scroll all the way up, there's a link to the learning path, which has all the videos to the technical bootcamp. Today's session will be posted on the learning path, and we'll put that up on the YouTube. If you're looking for that link, it's also somewhere in the comments. With that, we'll call the Q&A. If you want to drop off, enjoy the rest of your day. If not, stick around and we'll find some questions that haven't been answered yet. Matt, it seems like some of those devices are phones. Will this also affect the Teams SIP gateway?
This has no impact on SIP gateway devices. SIP gateway devices are not Intune enrolled today, so no changes for SIP gateway.
Good stuff. Today's deck will be shared. We're trying to share most of the decks, but some haven't been approved yet to be shared externally. So we're going to try and find a way. It might be up on the LinkedIn Smart Link, might be somewhere on the learning page. We're trying to figure that out, but please be patient with us. Many thanks. Great presentation, recording. Seems like this has been all well thought out. Really appreciate all the hard work by Microsoft. Thank you. For the end-of-life devices, where we cannot remove the Intune license, is the expected behavior for these devices to be that they will start signing out and not be able to sign back in? If so, will that be around the December 31st date, understanding that they are not supported?
So I would not expect the devices to sign out December 31st. It's formal support for device administrator that is being dropped. That date may end up being extended slightly, but at the end of the day, formalized support for device administrator ends at the end of the calendar year at the moment. The devices will continue to function. I wouldn't expect them to sign out. There are service deprecations that are happening later in 2025 that may cause signouts. That will be unrelated to this. There'll be message center posts and comms about that, but it won't be till mid-2025 at the earliest. You will want to plan device replacements if you're running end-of-life gear.
Okay, cool. One more on the 65-year token. What if the profile token was created before this 65-year change? Will it only support 90 days? Should we replace token with extended end date on the same profile? And will it take effect in both existing members of the profile and any new members?
Hey, I promised we were working on extending it. So we got there. It took a little longer than we expected, but we did get there. So anything to do with the enrollment profile only prevents net new enrollments. So if that enrollment profile expires, any existing devices, there's zero impact to them. They continue to be enrolled. You could delete the enrollment profile after enrolling all of your devices, and no new devices will enroll, but any existing devices will remain enrolled. Doesn't change anything there. So for the enrollment profile you've already created, easiest thing to do, delete it, create a new one that's 65 years into the future and call it good and don't worry about it again, just candidly. But there will be no impact to existing enrolled devices, and any net new devices will just enroll just like they do today. You don't have to go urgently do it, but do it before the existing 90-day enrollment profile expires, and that'll get you set up for the future.
Okay, good stuff. And then there was one more, I think. I was just distracted because we just announced a new Copilot companion. We'll watch that all together later. If a customer doesn't want to use MDM with their MTROA and Teams phones, is it possible to disable Intune usage and just use Entra authentication without MDM?
So if you disable the Intune license that's included with the Teams Rooms Pro license, when you disable the Intune entitlement, we will not attempt to do an Intune enrollment. I would ask why you're not wanting to use it. There will be benefits in the future to using it, so I would not encourage this, but you can if you so choose for one reason or another.
Okay, good stuff. And then was there one more? Will Microsoft block certain Android versions from AOSP? For example, how long will Android 10 devices be supported?
So no immediate intent to block anything there. There are things in Android OS versions that just aren't supported. So some of the phone devices, for instance, that you saw run Android 7, and we depend on libraries and capabilities in newer builds of Android. So there are end dates for all of those things, but we don't have any immediate intent to block specific versions. What you largely see from us from a service deprecation perspective is we do certification for Teams Android devices all up for 5 years from the original release date for that Android build. So, for instance, Android 14 was released around October of last year. So we offer 5 years of support for Android 14, plus 2 years of best effort support from there. So 5 years of certification, 2 years of best effort support. OEMs have an opportunity to resubmit for certification on a newer build of Android. So if they've got a device that runs Android 10 today and they update it to Android 13 and resubmit, we recertify, and that kicks the can down the road for 5 years from the Android 13 release, 5 years of cert, 2 more years from there. We maintain support for 7 years for any Android build. So formally, that's where you see our support lie. It's not a specific service deprecation, but it's a capability perspective and a security perspective where we can't always backport as far as someone may want us to. For instance, some of these Android 7 devices that we just can't support.
Gotcha. I think that's the last one. Thanks, Matt, for joining us once again. Hopefully you'll be back next one too, because I don't know a lot about CVI and SIP, and I need more help. Thanks
We're
everyone
get
for
to
joining.
Talk all the things.
Hey, thanks everyone for joining today's session. Have an amazing rest of your evening. The recording will be available on Learning Path and on YouTube. We'll try and share the deck, but that's going to be tough. Matt, when you do the clap emoji, you got to clap in real life too, because you do the shocked face emoji. Yeah. Thanks everyone for joining. We'll see you again in a couple of weeks. Bye. Peace.
Thank you.
Bye, everybody.